Hi folks, Major Dave here again, and yeah, I had to ditch the suit and roll up my sleeves and dig a little bit deeper into this elections mess going on over in Durham County. And as you likely know, I made a video 2 days ago exploring their numbers coming out of the recent election, and quite frankly, I still wasn't satisfied as to just what these numbers meant. Now the first question that came to me was, how did Durham stack up to the other counties in the state beyond what we explored in comparing them to the state as a whole? I knew I could not just pick a few counties at random, and time precludes me from looking at all 100 just now, but I did see where certain categories of counties based on location, demographics, and other characteristics might give us some better clues to just how common or unique those numbers are. So I chose 25 other counties across the state. I figured, hey, 1/4 of the state should be a large enough pool to gain some measure of confidence in the outcome. Now the numbers you will see are 4 types. I used the 2015 U.S. Census data for all total county population figures, since it was the only common source I could find that covered every county equally. And taken from that is the next column of age-eligible voters. Those who are 18 years of age and older, determined by subtracting the census data for folks under 18 from that total. Now the third column reflects the number of registered voters in that county as shown on the State Board of Elections website for each county's election returns for November 8th. And the fourth column represents the percentage then of all age-eligible voters who are actually registered to vote. And bear in mind once again that these percentages are actually higher since not everyone age-eligible is also eligible to vote. I simply have no way of accurately accounting for the felons, the mentally incompetent, the illegal immigrants, or others who are deemed ineligible as a matter of law. Now the first group of counties I looked at were those with 1 or more major universities and selected 8 that fit that description. It's logical to conclude that these counties all have higher transient populations. Their student population shows up for school, registers to vote in many cases, and then in a few short years, they generally matriculate out of the area while their voter registration remains on the books. And while it may become inactive at some point, I think we can all agree that the only thing it takes to make it active once again is for someone to request a ballot in that name. And without voter ID, anyone can present themselves at the polls and do nothing more than recite that name and address to gain and submit a ballot. Where's the confidence in that? Now, as we see here, Durham is the only county of this type reporting over 100% of age-eligible persons as registered voters. They've got more people registered to vote than there is in that age bracket. And I laid this out in more detail in the first video, so I won't be redundant here. Now, only Buncombe County, home to UNC Asheville, broke the 95% level, with New Hanover, home to UNC Wilmington, just a fraction behind. And even with Party City, East Carolina, and Pitt County, it still came in at the bottom of that category with 89.25%. Now it also occurred to me that 3 other counties have similar transient population characteristics, and that's where our major military installations are located. Now as we see here, even with their highly mobile and ever-changing population, their percentage of voter registrations is far below anything we've seen so far in this analysis. And it makes sense that their numbers would be lower, since many of the military would vote by absentee ballot in the home state of residence instead of here in North Carolina. Certainly nothing here validates what we're seeing coming out of Durham. So then I thought, okay, I'll compare these counties to those who are immediate neighbors of these and larger counties. Many of them have become bedroom communities of commuters who depend on these larger counties and cities for jobs and infrastructure. Well, only Union County, just east of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, breaks into the 90% range. I was obliged to look into regional variations as well to see if that offered us any additional insight. And at looking at counties from the coastal and eastern region of the state, I found numbers quite similar to those in the military counties. Now, Carteret County stands out from the other 3, and although it may have a disproportionately higher number of retirees as a coastal resort area, and thus an older population in general, so do the military and many mountain counties, which we'll look at in just a moment. So then I looked at the foothills, Piedmont, Sandhills area as representing the central part of the state. Now, none of these counties even made it up to the 90% threshold. And in fact, their numbers more closely parallel those of the military counties. And we know that Moore County has its own significant retirement community in the Pinehurst, Southern Pines area. So that doesn't seem to be a factor either. And then from the mountain region, I looked at 3 counties. One from the north, one from the central, and one from the southern mountains. Nothing jumped out at me here. Nothing here adds anything to our understanding of what's going on in Durham County, except that it remains a singular anomaly among the other 99. We've now looked at over 1/4 of the entire state and not found anything that tends to normalize or justify what's happening in Durham County. At what point does anyone simply say, whoa, man, something isn't right here? You know, friends, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It's simple math. And as I explained earlier, these numbers are all higher in reality because we have yet to subtract those among the age-eligible population who are disqualified from voting. And that subtraction only makes those numbers rise even further. Now, I admit, I'm still wrestling with all of this. And at this point, I'm on the verge of going through all 100 counties just to make sure my conclusions are sound. But I remain confident that one anomaly does not constitute a trend. But even without seeing the other data, surely we now have facts and circumstances amounting to more than a mere suspicion. We have probable cause that there is something significantly wrong with the integrity of the election numbers coming out of Durham County. This sample of counties is clearly representative of a broad cross-section of our state and is large enough to be considered statistically significant. Now, if you live in one of these counties mentioned whose numbers give you cause for concern, please feel free to contact your own county board of elections and attend their meetings as they continue their canvass to observe and voice your concerns. If you don't know when or where, simply call them. Contact your members of the legislature. Bring this to their attention. Write the governor. Write the state board of elections. And for goodness sakes, write our Attorney General, Roy Cooper, and ask him to explain this math in a way that justifies his conclusion that there's absolutely nothing wrong with our election system here in North Carolina. And above all, continue to pray. Continue to pray for our state and our nation that we can restore the integrity of government that we deserve in all areas. They remain our servants, and we deserve answers. They are obliged to provide them, but they won't unless we at least ask the questions. And as always, God bless the great state of North Carolina, and God bless all of our sister states we've united with to become the United States of America. Thank you.